please welcome Matt and Kendal Hagee.
Welcome to The Difference. Although one of our guests is very recognizable and does have the face of an angel, today we're talking about unlikely angels. Those who are doing incredible things, some of them often unrecognized, work on behalf of some of the most vulnerable members of our society.
Yes, there's a story in the Bible about some little children being brought to Jesus, but his disciples try to shoo them away.
And that's when Jesus made sure that he was able to communicate that children were a very valuable resource in the kingdom of heaven, because if we were to receive his word, we had to come like one of these.
That's right. So, good Lord, I'm grateful. I want you to hashtag us GLIG and tell the world what you're grateful for today. I'm so grateful for the blessing of children, and it's up to all of us to support and protect those who need our help.
As an ambassador for ChildHelp USA, our first guest has been at the forefront of this issue ever since she was catapulted into stardom by playing Chris Monroe on Charlie's Angels. Take a look at her very impressive career.
Hi! Well, I'm here.
For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Oh! Sorry. I'll see you tonight, honey.
Here's my baby girl. Oh, let me get a good look at you. That's what they're wearing?
It's called grunge.
Grunge seems like too nice a word. You know what? You remind me of me when I was 40.
Well, I'm sure you need to be reminded about a lot at your age.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Cheryl Ladd.
So good to see you.
Hi. Nice to be here. Thank you.
You know, I think so many people consider, Charlie's Angels obviously to be a very central theme in your career, but, whenever you take a look at how many different roles you've played and how many things you've done, my goodness, what a wonderfully and diverse actress you are.
It's amazing.
You were raised in South Dakota.
Yes.
How do you get from Huron, South Dakota to Hollywood?
With a lot of prayer. It's really interesting that I started singing with the band and traveled with the band is the short story, but really God and I had a lot of conversation when I was a child, and he knew where my joy was, which was entertaining and singing and music and dance and acting and all of those things, and I knew who I was very clearly when I was a child, and that's kind of where God was sending me, and I really believe that to be true. And so I just said, well, I'm just kind of going to put it in his hands, and he's going to find a way for me to do that.
You talk about your path to Charlie's Angels. Tell us about that, how that...
Well, it's interesting. I had worked for Aaron in some small parts on The Rookies and several of his other shows. He was just very aware of me. When Farrah left the show, he called me right away. I was his first choice, and I said no. I didn't feel really comfortable with it in a million ways. And, I said, how do you replace Farrah, for one thing? But also,
you got the hair for it, you're good.
I just didn't know, what I would play. And he said, well, we can work that out. We can create a character. I said, oh, okay. So he looked at a bunch of girls and then said, just come in, Cheryl, let's talk about this. And so I said, well, if I could be funny. He said, why couldn't you be funny? I said, oh. Okay.
I can do that.
If I could be like the rookie and make a lot of mistakes, he said, I like that. We could do that. And all of a sudden I'm going, oh. And he said, and what if you're her kid sister? Then your family. Bang.
Bang. That's it.
He was genius.
Yeah, well, it was such a great run. And in Hollywood, people hear about how competitive it is, and, you've got such a great career in it. But probably an even greater testament to you as an individual and your household is you have a 35-year marriage in an industry where long marriages are really not all that, common. Right. How'd you pull that off?
Well, obviously God was in every second of it. We were friends first. He wrote music, and we were in the music business together. He wrote Think It Over, which is a top 40 hit. And we just became very close. We both love reading. We both love homes and building and architecture. We just had so much in common. And mostly we had a desire to be close to the Lord in common. And you don't find a lot of that in Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know, well, there are a lot of people that are and do, but, you know, it's sort of kept close to the vest.
Well, and you know what's funny is regardless of whether you have a long marriage in an industry like Hollywood, or you find two people out in Huron, South Dakota who have a long marriage, the same ingredients are there. You do things in a proper way, in a proper order. You have common ground and understanding, which, you know, I think is important because people think that, you know, some zip codes in the world have all the secrets figured out. But the more you travel, the more you recognize the answers are the same no matter where you live.
Oh, no, marriage is a roller coaster, and the blessings of it are enormous, and the difficulties sometimes are enormous. But if you have the true love there, if you have real friendship with your partner, which my husband and I adore each other, we're still best friends.
Still dating.
And yeah, we're still dating.
Yeah, marriage is a roller coaster,
right.
and the handbrakes are broken.
That's right. And my husband, bless his heart, he always says, well, you know, when they say 35 years you guys have been married, he says, yeah, I'm a very patient man. And then I always say, and I'm an angel.
And I'm an angel.
And you've got the resume to prove it. You know, something else that's on your resume is ChildHelp USA. What is that organization about, and what does it do?
Well, it is the largest nonprofit organization fighting child abuse in the country. It was founded by two amazing women, Sarah O'Meara and Yvonne Feddersen. I had done a film in the first hiatus of Charlie's Angels called When She Was Bad, and I played a child abuser. And a woman who had been abused herself, because it is very cyclical.
It's a very cyclical, and I think that's something people don't understand is they look at adults who certainly do grievous things to children, but they never consider what a victim that adult might have been in their childhood.
That's exactly right. It's such a vicious cycle, child abuse. So if you break it, if you can get a hold of these children early enough and take care of them and love them and teach them how to love and how they're supposed to be treating each other. And I love this organization so much because when I was on television, I was promoting that movie. I said, if there's anybody out there that is fighting this horrendous battle of child abuse in our country, it was such an epidemic and nobody was really dealing with it. I said, call me, get a hold of me, because I really want to help. I really want to do something. My daughter Jordan was around 2 years old then, so I would look at her and I'd just started reading things in the newspaper about abused children and what was going on, and I kept looking at her, and I had such an amazing childhood. I mean, how could I not? I had loving, wonderful, unbelievable parents who just, you know, loved every one of their children and allowed them great respect and let them be who they really were, and you know, to have been given that gift by God, to have that family, to have those parents. How could I not fight for other children to understand what love is?
And I think that's important for a lot of people who are watching to hear. You know, oftentimes when individuals have experienced something in their own life, they have a passion to help. But if you find a cause that resonates with what you know to be changing the future, even if you haven't had any experience with it, get involved. You know, I mean, even if you have no personal experience with child abuse in your own life, but you recognize this is something that's important, it's a great need, get involved. How does somebody get involved with ChildHelp USA if they wanted to be involved today?
Well, they have a wonderful website that you can go to. They also would love, if you're really passionate about working with them and really wanting to help them, obviously you can make donations, but you can also, they will take you through some of the residential places. We have one in Culpeper County, Virginia, one in Beaumont, California, where we house some of the most severely abused children and give them a new life. And there are miracles there. I have gotten, you know, the other blessing is that I've gotten to see children that I got to meet early on who got adopted, have families of their own, they go into the military, they become such amazing people that there is healing, and again, breaking that cycle.
And why have you stayed with them for so long?
Well, first of all, the work they do is, to me, God's work.
Amen.
And I just need in myself to honor my parents, honor the gift of my parents, but also to help other people be good parents. We have to, nobody's instructed, nobody helps you. You know, we used to have God in school. We used to have certain little like bumpers along the road of life that helped us kind of
forms
do
that everything
right
got poured in.
to do. And you know, I think there wasn't as much child abuse. And now we have so many drugs and alcohol problems and all of those things that also play a big part in why children are not, you know, taken care of properly.
My grandmother, you know, she died in her late 90s, and I remember when I was a child, she would tell me, she'd say, son, she said, when I was a kid, even the bad people were good. You know, she said, bad people used to be people that might not go to church every Sunday, or they might not, you know, be the type of person that they should have been, but they at least respected and honored each other in society. And you know, whenever we see people that need direction, it's important to get involved in organizations that do that. It has been an honor to meet you. What a joy and delight.
Thanks for
Hey, what's that sound?
It sounds like, is that your ride?
My ride's here.
Yeah, well, you know, nothing but the best for our guests. As a matter of fact, our next guests have just rode up. You don't want to miss this. You're watching The Difference.
What you see is a child reaching for her mother. There is nothing more beautiful than for a child to know that they're loved. There are thousands of children who are reaching for someone who will not reach back because they're not there. This is the reason we're building the Sanctuary of Hope. I want you to help me help these children have a mother that will take care of them, that will love them, that when they cry in the night, someone will come. When they get hungry, someone will feed them. When it comes time to teach them the way of the Lord, that someone will be there. And together, with the Sanctuary of Hope, we can make this happen. God bless you for all that you do to make the Sanctuary of Hope a reality.
Help give the gift of life. Call the number on the screen or visit jhm.org.
Dear Pastor Hagee, I just wanted to write you to say how honored Rayla Jean and I are to have been partners in your ministry all these years, and to see all the amazing things you've accomplished around the world with the gifts we and others like us have gladly given over the years. Furthermore, it has been so refreshing to see younger generations coming on board to partner with you in spreading Christ's message to the world.
I want to welcome you both to partnership with John Hagee Ministries. Together, we will make a great impact for Christ around the world.
May God continue prospering you in all your endeavors. Your dear friends, Ron and Rayla Jean.
I want to thank you, our Salt Covenant partners, for making it possible for us to preach the gospel to the nations of the world. Thank you, and God bless you.
Become a Salt Covenant partner today. Call the toll-free number on the screen or visit us online at jhm.org.
Want a behind-the-scenes look at The Difference? Learn interesting facts about our guests, comment on our segments, and find out more about the show by following Matt and Kendal Hagee on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
This is certainly a topic near and dear to our hearts, and the group may be unlikely angels, but angels they are. Take a look.
Well, I'm leaving my work. You got a problem at home. It's time this world knows to leave our kids alone. We're staying 24/7, and we ain't gonna bend. We'll be riding on two wheels in the wind.
You ready to go to court? Mm-hmm. All right, let's do it.
We all rode here together. It's finally Judgment Day. We're here to give you the strength to say what you gotta say.
welcome Haas, Daddy Longlegs, and Coop, all members of Bikers Against Child Abuse, otherwise known as BACA. Guys, thanks for not running over the couch. Appreciate that. You know, Mama used to say, keep your foot off the table, but, you know, keep your bike off the living room. So have a seat. Welcome to The Difference. And first and foremost, as a father of 4 children that I love dearly, thank you for what you do for all children. And what is BACA exactly?
So BACA is Bikers Against Child Abuse. We're a 501c3 nonprofit international organization. We span the globe, and we're an organization that exists to empower kids not to be afraid.
Wow. And you know, in empowering them not to be afraid, there's a lot of people that, you know, if they saw you guys walking at them in a dark alley, they'd already be afraid. So, how is it that you go about making sure kids feel confident?
We're on their side. We exist to empower them with our physical and emotional presence. So we show up when they need us, anytime, day or night, 24 hours a day, we're on call with those kids.
And so how did this idea start? I mean, you know, a lot of guys decide that they want to get into you know, this kind of lifestyle of being involved in biker clubs and that kind of thing. And you know, first off, you know, maybe they do something good every now and again, but their purpose being goodwill all the time, that's not common. And then kids and awareness and being on the right side of the law, that's typically not common. How'd this get started?
So we started in 1995 in Utah. A man named J.P. Chief Lilly, who is a licensed play therapist. He would notice that when he'd have kids come in for therapy, he would make some really good progress. And as soon as that session was over, he would see them regress as soon as they got home. And there was a gap that needed to be filled that wasn't really filled by any state or local agency, that just needed to empower those kids. So he decided, being from the biker world, that he would go out and take some friends and see what kind of an impact it had. And that first impact was hugely positive, and it started to grow into what we are now today.
Do you have certain requirements to become a member?
We basically do not discriminate against anybody. You don't necessarily have to have a bike. If you have a bike, you can definitely help and become a patch member in our organization. But we do not discriminate against anyone, any race, religion, creed, nationality. The only thing we discriminate against is child abusers.
So you're a one-issue organization, and that is to protect children.
We have a very narrow focus.
Which actually is something that enables you to now, you're not only, you know, you started in Utah, how far is your reach?
We're, like I said, we're an international organization now. It constantly changes. Last count that I had, I believe we're in 12 countries around the world. We cover most of the United States. Here locally, we have 29 chapters in Texas. Wow. We're very active.
So whenever you've got 29 chapters in Texas, somebody comes up with a need, how do they reach out to your organization, or how do you guys find out about kids that need help?
We work in conjunction with the local authorities, the child advocacy centers, district attorneys' offices, therapists. Lots of different places can refer kids to us. And some of the times the kids actually come directly to us. They've heard about us from, unfortunately, other kids in school and things like that. It can be referred from all sorts of different places, but usually it's one of those agencies that reaches out that says, hey, this is a kid that's, there's a need, they're scared, they have an abuser that's really frightened them, and that's what we do.
What do you do?
All of our chapters have hotlines that anybody can call.
Okay, so they call in, and then, you know, we saw a video, you know, and Daddy Longlegs, I assume you got that because you're one of the shorter members of the group. But
I was actually honored to get the name from a BACA child, actually.
There you go. That's
I had a different road name, and during an adoption where we bring a child into our organization as our little brother, little sister, we'll let them crawl on top of our bikes. And he couldn't reach anything on my bike, my handlebars, my foot pegs, nothing. And I said, well, you're going to get there one day. And, you know, he looked at me and said, wow, you're like Daddy Longlegs. And somebody looked at him and said, "What'd you say?" And he said, "Yeah, his name should be Daddy Longlegs."
And they ripped that patch off your vest and got you a new one.
I pulled it off right then and there, right in front of him. And it's nothing I did personally. It's anybody in our organization would do that because it's about actions, not about words.
And the thing that enabled that moment that's very dear to you is you were there. You know, and I think there are a lot of people watching who see, you know, this kind of presence and you know, when they hear what you do, they go, man, that's really cool. But they can actually have an impact too if they'll just be there.
That's one of our main things we tell our members is we require really one thing: show up.
Show up.
Yeah.
When that child needs you, show up.
Yeah, and we saw that in the video. You were standing out in front of a home and the child's in the house behind you. Tell us what that's about.
So anytime a kid calls their primaries, we have 2 people that will be the primary for that particular child. Anytime a kid feels scared, if there's a threat against the child, we will be the obstacle to whatever happens. That we will not allow that child to be hurt again.
So basically, you're a literal wall of defense between that child and whatever threatens it. And then we saw an additional piece of the video where, you know, this kid gets thrown in a sidecar. He's not getting kidnapped. Where were you taking him?
I believe in the video we're actually taking him to court that day.
And that was so that he could sit before the judge and then face his accuser, because a lot of times, as I understand, you know, in the situations that we unfortunately get to face, children are afraid for that moment in time. They've got such a abused mentality that they don't even want to see that person in a court of law.
Well, courts are scary enough for adults, much less for a child.
I do what I can to stay out of them.
Exactly. And for a child to have to get up there and tell their story in front of a room full of strangers, it's just very intimidating, very scary for them. And when they look out there and they see us in the audience and they know that we're there, we have their back, we're there to support them, it helps them get up there and tell their story and help put this guy away.
Tell us about the patch that you're wearing. What's the significance of that?
So everything in our world has a lot of symbolism. Every aspect of our patch has a symbolic meaning, from the colors themselves to the actual, what they represent. To go through all of it, the red in our patch, the color, represents the bloodshed of the child. The white represents the innocence that's stolen. The black represents the dark times that the child has to go through. And then into the actual visual appearance itself, the fist represents the fight against child abuse that we have. The chains around the outside are our united organization. And then our Jolly Roger, the skull and crossbones, is hopefully the death and end of child abuse one day.
Well, you know, it's obvious that you guys have done great work, and I just want to commend you for being heroes to the children that you've touched.
Well, we're not heroes, they're our heroes.
Well, you know, even still, your willingness just to serve and be of service. God bless you guys. Ride safe and keep up the good work. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Dear Pastor Hagee, I just wanted to write you to say how honored Rayla Jean and I are to have been partners in your ministry all these years, and to see all the amazing things you've accomplished around the world with the gifts we and others like us have gladly given over the years. Furthermore, it has been so refreshing to see younger generations coming on board to partner with you in spreading Christ's message to the world.
I want to welcome you both to partnership with John Hagee Ministries. Together, we will make a great impact for Christ around the world.
May God continue prospering you in all your endeavors. Your dear friends, Ron and Rayla Jean.
I want to thank you, our Salt Covenant partners, for making it possible for us to preach the gospel to the nations of the world. Thank you, and God bless you.
Become a Salt Covenant partner today. Call the toll-free number on the screen or visit us online at jhm.org.
Want a behind-the-scenes look at the difference? Learn interesting facts about our guests, comment on our segments, and find out more about the show by following Matt and Kendal Hagee on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
What you see is a child reaching for her mother. There's nothing more beautiful than for a child to know that they're loved. There are thousands of children who are reaching for someone who will not reach back because they're not there. This is the reason we're building the Sanctuary of Hope. I want you to help me help these children have a mother that will take care of them, that will love them, that when they cry in the night, someone will come. When they get hungry, someone will feed them. When it comes time to teach them the way of the Lord, that someone will be there. And together, with the Sanctuary of Hope, we can make this happen. God bless you for all that you do to make the Sanctuary of Hope a reality.
Help give the gift of life. Call the number on the screen or visit jhm.org.
You know, on days like today, you wish you didn't have to cover the topic, but I'm so glad that so many people are not only paying attention, but they're taking action. Individuals like Cheryl Ladd working with organizations to make sure that children have a safe place. And then you have BACA, groups that are standing up in hard times for children who might not be able to stand up for themselves. That's one of the reasons why the Sanctuary of Hope here in San Antonio with Cornerstone Church is a very viable and rational thing to do in days like we live. Kendal, tell us about Sanctuary of Hope.
Sanctuary of Hope is a place where if you're an unwed mother and you're having a child, you can come there, you can live there. There's going to be nurses there, there's going to be a staff. For children that don't have a home, we're going to have a place for you there at Sanctuary of Hope.
You know, it's one thing to stand up and talk about evil, and without question, abortion is simply the loss of a life and the death of a generation. But what Sanctuary of Hope does is it provides an alternative. There are a lot of places you can go and give an unborn child a death sentence. The Sanctuary of Hope is a place where you can come and give a child a life sentence. And as Kendal was mentioning, unwed mothers can come there and find a safe refuge to have a child, and if they would like to, raise that child. And then after that child is born, if they would like to see that child find a very faithful home, then we'll make sure that that happens as well. If you'd like to find out more about the Sanctuary of Hope, you can go to sohcares.org and be a part of what we're doing. If you'd like to find out about BACA, or if you'd like to find out about all of the things that are available to children in this nation in need, I encourage you to do that. But what I want you to do most of all is make up your mind today you're going to do something. You know, it's one thing not to do something about what you've never heard about, but once you've been informed, I believe that you have a measure of accountability. So I want you to stand up today, speak up on behalf of those who have no voice, and make sure that children everywhere know that they have an advocate in you. It's been a great day here on The Difference. Not only did we have absolute megastar in Cheryl Ladd sitting she was sitting this close to me. But we've turned our living room into a parking lot. Children, don't do this at home. If BACA shows up at your front door, don't let them park in your house. However, make sure that you have the opportunity to make a difference today. Thank you for watching. We look forward to seeing you again very soon.